Yep, we are now live on there. So let me go back here. Let's see if it came up. It did. I have to change it to public. There. All right, now we should see, I should see, anytime someone types something in, I should be able to see it. We shall see. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. All right, there's there. All right, good morning. Good morning, Internet. For those of you who may not know, if you haven't been paying attention, like I said earlier this week, I was going to have my cousin Josh on. And yeah, the chat's not working today, so of course not. But I'll periodically look at comments and such. But this is my cousin Josh Virgil. We grew up together pretty much probably since diapers. All right, chat is working. Mother is on. Mom sent us a dog. She's still learning what emojis are.
Shocking.
So yeah, I mean, Josh and I literally I was thinking about it the other day, and I would say probably some of our earliest memories were of that disgusting waterbed you used to have when we were kids.
Yeah.
Doing like sleepovers and you know, so we pretty much played every sport together. I had said the other day I got my first varsity win in relief of you. I came in and it was a tie game, and we scored 1 run, and that was my first varsity win. Pitched, I think, 9 pitches. My first win, which was, I was fine with that. But you know, so we've been like entangled in everything our entire lives. Our mothers live 6 miles apart, you know, and that's just how it's always been. We have a very close family. But you know, a lot of what I talk about is motivation. It's people's desire to get up, to get moving, to do stuff. And I mean, you've had what some would view as a horrific accident. You know, you and I have talked about it extensively. You feel that it was the best thing that has happened to you. I still remember probably like the week before that when we were at a party, and then, you know, everything since then. So I want you to tell a little bit about your backstory. I mean, you can even go, the floor is yours if you want to go back to, you know, when you were in Rhode Island in college, or if you want to talk about, you know, where you've, you know, your progression to now. The floor is yours. So give a little backstory of you. You want to say hi to Uncle Josh?
Hey, Park. Hey, buddy. Good morning.
Can you say good morning?
Well, as Eddie was saying, that we grew up together. I had my accident back in October of '98. So prior to that, I was actually 21 when that happened. So I had the luxury, I guess you could call it, of being able-bodied prior to that. So I was able to play baseball, basketball, soccer. I played all through high school. Then when I went to college, my first year, I went up to New Hampshire and had a lot of freedom. So unfortunately, I took advantage of that and did not do very well in school, and decided I wanted to get out of there and try something different to see if I could change my luck around. So I transferred to a school, Johnson & Wales in Rhode Island, and fell right back into the same problem I had when I was in New Hampshire, which was drinking and things like that, getting into drugs a little bit. and my life wasn't going the right way. And Eddie and I have a cousin that used to live up Clayton area, Alex Bay, who was in a car accident in September of '98. And I was living in Rhode Island and not doing very well. All my money was going to drugs or drinking, and wasn't paying my rent, wasn't doing anything productive with my life. So when my cousin had his accident and ended up passing away, I decided I had to change my life, come back home, get a fresh start. So that's what I did. I came home, had job interviews, was home exactly 1 week when I had my car accident. And when I was told that day that I wouldn't be able to walk again, my first reaction was, what's next? What do I got to do? I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. I wasn't depressed. I just was ready to move on, see what was next. I had taken life for granted all the way up until that point in my life. I was driving down the road. I've driven down thousands of times and don't know what happened, but I lost control and became paralyzed from the chest down. So for the past almost 22 years, right? Yep.
Yeah.
I've been living in a wheelchair, but like Ed said at the beginning, it was the best day of my life. I wouldn't be able, I can't say I wouldn't be, because who knows how my life would have been written if I didn't have the accident, but it made me realize what was important in life and made me realize that I was taking things for granted and made me a better person.
Like I kind of said in the beginning, I remember we were at, because I still run over there. We were drinking on Colton Road. Like it must have been the Friday. It was like the Friday or Saturday before your accident, and I remember you saying, "Yeah, I'm moving home. I gotta start over. Like I'm tired of what I've been doing. I want to get back into coaching. I wanna help. I want to work with kids. I want to coach baseball. Like I miss playing sports." And then it was, I still remember, the day of your accident. Um, and even like the days after your accident, I remember coming to the hospital. I think it was the day after. It was the first day you had like 2 or 3 surgeries, and you were watching a Bills game. And I remember walking in and just like sitting down, and when I was, let's see, October of 18. So or October of 98. So yeah, I was 18, but you're an 18-year-old kid, and you lived in Fabius your whole life. You've never really seen much. And you walk into, a kid that you grew up with, and you're told, your mom stopped me in the hall, or Deaners stopped me in the hall and was like, I told Josh he's never going to be able to walk again. And I'm like, well, that can just be temporary. And, because none of us knew any differently. And, at that time, I don't think they, were super clear on exactly, because of all the swelling and everything. And you're still, as a family member, you're still in shock and stuff. And, but from there, I remember like from that October, I don't think we missed a Yankees game the whole time you were in the hospital. And I don't think you made it more than 3 days without having me bring you pizza against
No,
doctor's orders.
no, definitely not.
um, and I mean, even from there, just, that, and I think that really helped our bond grow, because it helped me going into, my senior year. as we, started getting ready for my senior year and everything, it just made me realize, like, these are things that you can't take for granted. And it's not to say that I mean, I was still an asshole in high school for the most part, but we had, at that point, by the time my senior year started, you were actually able to start coaching. That was your first year as an assistant coach for baseball, and might have even been a little like towards the end of summer ball going into that year. But and then since then, I mean, you know, what have you been able to do? I mean, 99 started your coaching career, right? So
Right.
what have you, since 99, some of the accolades that you've been able to take on as a coach are, you know, we'll, we went to states in 98. So 2000, they won states. The baseball team won
Right.
championships. So what are some of, because I mean, you're involved with more than just baseball at this point. You're involved with what, baseball, soccer, baseball, and basketball, right?
Correct. Yep. When I was in the hospital in rehab, going through all of that, Coach May, our coach when I was there, asked me if I would join him in coaching and being his assistant. And of course, I could not turn that down. And so, like you said, 99, I started coaching. It was the year after you guys made the state final run. So back then, it was really nice because all you guys knew me before my accident. So when I started coaching, I was still Josh. You guys all respected me. You all loved me. You all looked up to me from when I played. So it was an easy transition for me, for you guys. And you guys all knew me as Josh. You didn't see the chair. The chair was never a bother. You guys would come pick me up and take me to practice. And I've been 22 years now, I'll be coaching. Well, it would have been this year, would have been 22 years. It was unfortunate we couldn't get that in, but have had 2 state titles with baseball in 2000, 2003. Have had 8 or 9 sectional championships with baseball. I've coached with 2 or 3 sectional championships with soccer. Basketball, I've coached some very good teams that haven't had the luck that everybody else has had.
Well, and something about Fabius basketball.
Yeah, we're a very good soccer and baseball school.
Yeah.
Basketball is going to try to turn it around with the new coach, with Brian Porter. We're hoping, but it's tough when you have very good in a small school. You don't see all 3 sports being very good.
Yeah, and I mean, probably since your freshman year, did you guys win any games when you played? Because there was a run where we'd win, like our basketball team would win 1 or 2 games. Now we at least get, we're usually around 500.
Yeah, my junior year we went to sectionals. My senior year we only won 2 games, but in the past recent years we've actually made it to a sectional final. We've got to play in the Dome, Manley Fieldhouse when that was up and running with basketball. We played there, so we've had teams that were good enough to get that far. So hopefully we can get back there.
Yeah, and after, okay, and that's one of the things that I look at is, the and I mean, we talk about it, and I mean, I don't work with the baseball program anymore because of, you know, to me, the obvious thing is the kids just don't have a level of respect for anyone that they did uh, when we were playing. And it's not, you know, it's not a fault of the parents or the kids. It's just like the times have changed in a different way. And you know, but I mean, I still remember, you know, to your point about how comfortable we were with you. I remember when we played that doubleheader my senior year against Weedsport, it was the first time you left the dugout in a game and you came out to the mound. And I just remember like the snickering from Weedsport, and you just came out and you were like, I don't think I need to say anything. And you just turned around and left. And just me hearing them like laugh about the fact that like this kid's coming out, this guy's coming out in a wheelchair. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, fuck these guys. It's on. And and it was that was all I needed. But we never, you know, we always knew you. I mean, I still remember going, you know, the thing we had at Toggenburg to raise money to be able to try to make your house handicap accessible. In everybody from Fabius, Tully, even though Tully was our biggest rival, like all of these people that we were 100% against, during all of that, we all came together. And it just showed like, but because everybody knew who you were from soccer, basketball, you know, baseball, you know, and then just being in the community and being around. And then as you got back into coaching, all of these kids, I remember probably, oh, when was I first? I don't know. I came back, it was when Coach May was still coaching. I came back for a year. And I just remember every kid, as they'd start to leave baseball practice, would go and, you know, give you a fist bump. And, you know, and it was those things that it was just like, you know, as soon as you started talking, like the kids knew, like, you know what, this guy's been through, I'm having troubles with my girlfriend, but I don't know how Josh gets up, you know, how Josh gets up every day. Like, you know, and it still was still kind of sunk in for a lot of those guys. And I think it's still applicable and still important because again, there's so many things that we take advantage of and take for granted, just as you did prior to your accident, which is why we say it's, you know, the best day of your life, because you learned who you were from the inside out, and that you can't keep living this superficial life of abusing yourself and think you're going to get away with it. And it's time, like, okay, so now what do I got to do? And I mean, I would say that for the last 22 years, you have just, in every aspect of your life, given back. And a lot of it, unless someone's in your house watching you compute all of the stats and, you know, put together everything that you put together for the different sports teams, they never even get to see a lot of that stuff. You know, and that's the part of it where it's like, you know, you could have just laid down and said, you know what, this sucks. I'm 21 and I'm going to be a quadriplegic for the rest of my life. My life is over. You were like, no, this just means that I have a different way of getting around. I mean, and we still went to bars. We we still did a lot of shit.
Oh yeah, we did.
But, you know, and I was like, you know what, I'll drive you wherever you want to go. I was like, you want to go to bars on a Friday night? And it was me, you, Danny, Tommy,
Kermit.
and whoever else we could fit in the van. And we're like, we're going downtown. I was
Yep.
19, and you know, my in was, I'm working. I'm his aide. And, you know, so I would say you know, you've still managed to live you know, an awesome, you know, quote unquote awesome life. And, you know, you've been able to impact so many people along the way. I mean, 22 years of coaching, 3 sports, maybe this isn't that big, but let's say there's 10 kids on each team. I'm not going to do the math, but that's a lot of people that you can affect. You know, so what are some of the things that you use as motivational tools, because I mean, you're seeing kids in their peak years of, whether, peak years of being kids, in how you keep them, especially now, how you keep them focused, how you keep them motivated to, you know, complete the task at hand and stay on course with, hitting their objectives.
I to kind of before I hit that point, you're talking about when I came out to the mound and I didn't really say anything. I just me being out there and not just them, not just Weedsport making fun of me and things like that, but just the fact that you saw me come out there was motivation enough for you. There's been so many times throughout these years that other teams have made fun of me or made a comment about a guy in a wheelchair coaching, and our teams have heard it. Like a prime example is back in 2007, we were in a sectional game at our place against, I want to say it was Watertown IHC. It was a private school, either way. And we're playing, and what some of the cheers that I do is I always add a Y to everybody's name, like Matt, I'll make it Maddie or Ben, Benny, that type of thing. And when I yell, I'll be like Benny or something like that. Well, the other team started doing that, kind of making fun of me. And one of the guys that was on the bench heard that, caught on to that, and asked me if that's what they were doing. And I said, yeah, it's pretty much what they're doing. Well, we're down by 1 or 2 runs. And next thing you know, one of our guys hits a home run. Well, the kid that was sitting next to me during this whole thing that heard the other team picking on me said to me that that home run was for me. That he told the team what the other team was doing, and they made that comeback for me. So that's just one example of different things that have happened throughout the 20 plus years of coaching that the kids look up to me and protect me in different ways. To go back between when I started coaching and now, like I said, when I first started, I was Josh. I wasn't Coach Virgil like I am now. The kids I'm coaching now weren't even born yet when I had my accident. But back around 2004, 5, 6, that area, a lot of those kids were, that's when kids were starting to come in to my teams that didn't know me before my accident. So I went from Josh to Coach Virgil in that point in time. And that was actually a harder adjustment for me than it was for me being paralyzed. Mentally, that is, because it was a different kind of respect. I was always buddy, having fun, joking around, being able to bust somebody's balls a different way than I can now. I still do. I still find different ways. But that was a hard adjustment for me. But I made the adjustment. As Coach May had always says, it's not what happens to you, it's how you adjust. And he used that when I played, and that's what really has motivated me throughout this whole thing is this happened to me. How do I adjust? So now watching kids and how I keep them motivated, yeah, it's a different breed of kids, like you said, different type of respect they have. And it's harder with the kids now, but it's just as much fun. Even though it's harder, it makes it more fun. Because I got to find different ways. They're keeping me on my toes. How do I motivate this kid? How do I motivate that kid? But when I'm coaching, I'm not just watching the game and seeing how it's unfolding, whether it's soccer, basketball, or baseball. I'm also watching the kid, whether it's in practice or in a game. I'm watching his emotions. I'm watching his body language. I kind of do homework on each kid throughout the season with his home life, with and things how he's doing in school, and finding just the little things that I can find within each kid to help motivate them. Using my backstory, using someone else's backstory, different things like that that I can just find to prod a kid. If he's having a bad game in basketball, just to get him, and he's a little lethargic, just to give him a little bit of a jolt. Maybe not obviously give him an energy drink, but in the same aspect, my words are his energy drink. Something that Coach May used to do, as you know, you played in the first one, but he used to have a wooden bat league. He had it back in the early 2000s, but then he just had it about 6 or 7 years ago also. And he brought at the second wave of them, he had all these different coaches that had played either professionally or coached professionally, played in college, all those different things. And when he had a write up on all these different coaches, it was like played for the New York Mets or played for this person, played for that person. So in my mind is like, how is he going to describe me? I played one semester in college, but that was it because I got kicked out of school. I couldn't play anymore. So how am I going to compare to what these other coaches have? And he couldn't have said it any better when he said the mental coach, the mental aspect of the game. And that's what I do. I observe and I think outside of the box. I'm more mental coach, obviously, than a physical coach. And leading up to your senior year, my first year of coaching, I had no clue what I was going to do, how I was going to coach. I can't throw a baseball. I can't swing a bat. How was I going to teach you guys what to do? And that very first practice, I don't know. Do you remember my very first practice of coming in the gym?
I mean, probably.
Well, I'll never forget it. Um, my dad brings me down. It was an evening practice, and I come through the foyer, and all you guys are at the opposite end of the gym. And as soon as the door opens and I come in the gym, everybody starts clapping.
Yep.
I turned right back around, went back out in the foyer. I had to sit out there for 5 or 10 minutes. To see, I'm losing it now. 5 or 10 minutes to collect myself. I just started crying. It was one of the best feelings in the world. So when I got in there and I started coaching, not just that day, but those few days, I see some of the younger kids having trouble on their swing or their throwing ability or something like that. Well, I caught on really quick that I could pull you aside or like a Chris Barlow or somebody like that to help explain the swing or the proper way to throw or turning a double play or anything like that. That even though I was doing the explanation, you guys were the example. And then I learned throughout the years that I don't have to do it. If I bring a senior or an upperclassman to teach an underclassman, that brings the team closer together by having them do the leadership. even though I'm there to observe, they were the ones teaching the kids. And it brought the camaraderie of the team closer together. So a lot of the motivation that I do now, like with all the teams that I coach, every year us coaches try to find the right spot that we have the Coach Virgil talk. And it's what it is I tell the kids my story before my accident, about my accident, what I've done throughout the years. And every year I tweak it a little bit just so the same kid, whether he's played soccer for 4 years, but is still playing baseball, hasn't heard the same speech all the time. I tweak it a little bit each time. And I try to compare my story through what the season is happening or what is happening throughout the season. I'm also doing it for other teams. I've done it for Lemoyne soccer, women's soccer. I've done it for the Fayetteville Manlius girls soccer team last fall. So I try to, like I said, I do my homework. I watched some games. I watched some practices of both of those two teams leading up to my talk. And I integrated their season into my story and how to compare the two. So that's pretty much how I keep the kids motivated, is by comparing what I go through to what they're going through, whether it's the season or life. And one thing that I tell every team that I've coached, and I will from till the day I stop, is I do the coaching that, how do I want to word it? They're the reason I get out of bed. Coaching is what motivates me every single day to get out of bed, to get down there, to teach the kids, not just coach them, but teach them about life. And that's my motivation. So that helps a lot also with motivating them. So they see that takes me all this time to get out of bed, but I'm doing it for them. So that helps out a lot also.
Yeah, the Wood Bat League. I started laughing because that's when Kermit told me, I think you guys were sitting in the little side dugout. And he's like,
Yeah.
man, that's when he was like, you look like David Wells. It's like, fuck. like, I don't know. I mean, David Wells is awesome, but he was like 60 pounds, 80 pounds weight. So I was like, you know what? Boy, if there's a sign that gets smacked across your face every now and then, that's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good old Kermit.
Yep.
And he the thing is Kerm probably wasn't even saying that. No, you know what? He probably was. He was probably saying it. That was Kerm's like backhanded compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
And
he could get away with that.
He could. God bless Kermie. Yeah. So, I think that that's awesome. And I do think that, you still, I mean, again, I watched when it was, Timmy's first year coaching the team. I remember one of the kids, when we went to Lafayette, one of the kids didn't respect you. And Tim just turned around, and for those that don't know, the varsity coach at Fabius is Timmy Wilcox, who played with me, but the Wilcox family's been around forever. Of course, Beth wants to send me a text message during this. But the Wilcox family, we've all been ingrained with them. One of the kids was not being respectful to you during practice, and I wasn't there that day, but I showed up to the Lafayette game, and he was by far one of our top two pitchers if he was mentally in a game. And Tim was like, nope, you're not playing. And I remember the kid's parent was pissed. And then Tim told her what happened, or you told her what happened, and she's like, nope, he's not playing.
Yep.
And it's just, to me, that's that level of respect of, it's not about, like, obviously it's always about respect your elders, but you know you're you're going, you're going out of your way to try to help these kids develop into not just a better athlete, but a better person in general. And you know your way is definitely going to be different than how I would do it, because you have a completely different experience to pull from it. And and I've always said my entire racing career, every race I do, I'm always thinking about you, because whether we're in Spain or wherever we were racing, it was like, you know what, you can't be here, so I'm going to race because you can't be here. And that's how it's always been. And so we still pull motivation from all these different areas, but I think it's important, especially during this whole coronavirus nonsense, that people really think, like, outside of that standard box of, like, okay, well, I need to watch that inspiring motivational video, where it's like, look at the neighbor down the road who is in a wheelchair. And I mean, one of the first people you met post accident is was Jim Durin.
Right.
And Jim is still going. And he's got a beautiful family. He's got, you know he's made a life of himself from his wheelchair. And I remember, the first time that you guys met at the hospital, and he was just like, don't think of this as the end of your life, this is the beginning of your life. And I mean, it can't be more true. So um but that's, today I really wanted to get you on, because I mean, and it's an amazing story. We went from two fully able-bodied best friends, wrestling, fighting, probably more fighting than playing
Well, not really. You and I were always the teammates that beat up on Dennis and Chris.
That's true, because I wasn't allowed to, my mom wouldn't let me wrestle Dennis.
Right.
Because he'd always lose. So that is true, though. But I mean, in anybody who grew up in the country knows how it is to have your cousins around you. I mean, our kids, my kids, Dennis's kids, like, they all get together and they're gone. I mean,
Yep.
Christmas at our house, half the night the kids are downstairs tearing apart the house. The second half they come up and sit and bitch that we're still opening presents during White Elephant. But it is, we're very fortunate in the childhoods that we had. Neil Plouffe says hi.
Hey, Coach.
Coach Plouffe. Yeah. But it is, it's an awesome journey. And I'm glad that I've been able to be part of it, because it has definitely helped me, especially as I got older. I mean, there was a period in my life where, I don't think anything would have stopped me from doing. I blame our cousin Steve, actually, for all of that.
Yeah, he is a lot to blame in a lot of different things.
He is. And, especially, and if you guys don't know, you got to find him on TikTok, because he's pretty good.
Yeah, he is pretty good.
But, we've got to, it's, our history is great. And I mean, the impact that you've had on our community is enormous. And, this is just one of those things that, you give so much back that, and your story is incredible. So that's why I wanted to have you on here today. Let's look at some of the comments. Again, my mother says hi, that she loves you. Jimmy McDermott says, looking good, Josh. Joe Altier, nothing but respect. Great conversation. Joe Sanchez, that's just awesome. Nice work, Coach. Jason Finch says, good morning. So yeah, I mean, you've started a coach, more of like a mental coaching business, right, on the side. So
Yeah,
how do you do it now outside of coaching actual sport?
I do have opportunities where I go and do some motivational speaking, like I told you I did with the FM girls soccer, the Lemoyne women's soccer team. Um, I actually did do one at a old folks home with men between the ages of 75 and 98. That was kind of different. I'm used to trying to motivate kids, and here I am trying to motivate older men to,
Extremely old kids.
yeah, right, right. Um, I didn't know how I had to motivate them, but they, the woman asked me to just tell my story, and so I used my story to motivate them to come out of their rooms and tell their stories, because at that age they have a lot of stories. So, and a lot of them just like to sit around and watch TV and not do anything. So that's what I did. I went in there and explained my story and heard some of their stories to motivate them. So I started my own websites, thejoshvirgil.com. That has some testimonials in there, tells a little bit about my story. So hopefully I can get some more gigs coming up if we ever get out of this pandemic and things slowly come back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right. It's very quiet out in the living room, which leads me to
That's
consider.
scary. Yeah,
I guess I don't think it's because they fell asleep. Uh,
right.
so awesome. We're gonna say goodbye to Facebook, and then you and I'll end. Um, but yeah, thank you again for coming on. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll share this on Josh's page as well. Shoot Josh a message if you're looking for someone to come into your company or work with any of your teams or anything. Just one last thing is, like, a book that I'm reading right now is Relentless, and it's the trainer that worked with Jordan, Bryant, Dwayne Wade, among others. And he talks about cleaners, and a cleaner is someone who just puts their head down and does work. They're not doing it for the glitz, the glam. And as I'm reading it, I'm thinking the whole time, like, like, in my mind, he's comparing Jordan to LeBron. In one way that he does that without, he's never mentioned LeBron, but he just says, like, when Jordan would come out at the beginning of a game when they're doing introductions, Jordan would, like, at most wouldn't look anybody in the eye and would just barely fist bump or, like, middle of the road high fives, nothing glamorous, nothing real low, nothing fancy, and just goes about. And because he was in the zone, and he was one of those guys that, this trainer was able to, is able to get these guys in the zone. And that's what I think about, the way that you approach your motivation is you find that one thing that the athlete needs to hear to snap them out of, my girlfriend's cheating on me with my brother, so what am I going to do? My life is over. That athlete so deep that you can say, like, you know what? This team scored X amount of points against you last time. You got to make sure this is, and you can get them into that zone so that they have an amazing game. And, and it's very similar to the way that, some of these high level athletes perform in their job, is they have that switch that they can turn on. Well, you're the person that helps these teenagers turn that switch on, is how I view that. So I think I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, that when you were talking about that, it just reminded me of this book. So again, if you guys have any questions for Josh, always feel free. Oh, your mom says that she loves us.
Oh yeah.
She's in the other room, probably at your house.
Yeah.
She's Susie. So, reach out to either me or Josh if you're interested in having Josh do anything to help motivate your team, your employees. It's an amazing story. We could talk about all this stuff forever, but awesome. Thank you guys. It's Thursday. Today is Thursday, so I'll be on tomorrow, and then we'll be off for the weekend. But thank you again, and
Thanks, Ed.